guests. It is my pleasure today to welcome you all to this opening sessions on digital reinvention for tomorrow business. I'm Arvy and I'll be moderating today's discussions with Steve here. So as a preface, in today's fast-changing environment in business, AI and digital reinvention is something that cannot be separated. It is something of a force that has transformed the business from the way we conduct a business and the way we operate as a whole. So that's why we are having Steve here today from the AI for Diversity, and he's currently serving as Chief AI Evangelist at One as well. Steve plays a vital role in developing international standard as well towards a more ethical and responsible AI. We will have a lot of insights from him today to understand how AI can actually be implemented properly in the business and how we can start to kickstart our journey with AI in corporates, in Indonesia especially. So Steve, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey with AI and data science. What makes you interested in the field and what kind of drive you to be a thought leader in the space?
Awesome, thank you very much for having me. Hello, Indonesia. This is great, an honor to be here in an electric room. A lot of people are excited about AI, so I'm gonna quickly go through my journey into AI. We have a lot to talk about. Let's light this candle. Around 15 years ago, I was responsible for a project called Hospital Information System. As you probably can imagine by the name of the project, it was about collecting data, hospital information, and there was lots of information about the processes, medicine, curations, and it was used by doctors to leverage and do some research. So at that time, there was no data science around, but I was responsible to find a way to use these data more effectively. And through this research, I found that this new field of data mining. So spent a lot of time learning about data mining. Long story short, after we leveraged that, we published a lot of papers, and then I changed my career into data science. I taught at University of Technology Sydney, and I was the head of data science at the Australian National Research Centre for a long time.
Interesting, Steve. Talking about AI, what do you think gave the rise of the generative AI? Because I think since ChatGPT OpenAI, like early this year, late last year, it has become a bubble and it's transformed a lot of industries. Like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to know how many of you have used ChatGPT? Can you put your hand up if you have used ChatGPT before? All right, nice. I think
about 90%.
Yeah, I would say to that 10% what happened. But anyway, so this new technology that we are talking about, the generative AI, is a mix of innovation and accessibility to this innovation. So we all have leveraged AI in our lives. If you're using Netflix, if you're shopping on Amazon, you definitely have used AI because all the recommendations are coming from their AI engine. But what happened is, from being a feature, out of sudden, AI became a product. So it was available firsthand, accessible to everyone for free, all around the world, delivering value directly. And that's where we started noticing that, wow, this AI thing is impacting. This generative AI is, in many cases, is not fundamentally new. It is leveraging data and the algorithm that was available for many years. Well, what have changed? Apart from the marketing piece, which I said, and the accessibility, two major things happened. AI went through the corpus of information that we collected through the generations. All the information that we accumulated through our institutions in history mostly are in the written text and are available. And this AI engine went through all of them, and essentially they cracked the human OS. The operating system of human being is the communication. So by understanding that communication And through the extra reinforcement, the AI started understanding us better and better. So that's where the actual impact came from. And I think this is going to become more and more pervasively used to change the way that we are all leveraging technologies. It's going to make things much easier for us. It's going to change the way that we are communicating with each other, because just think about it, instead of writing a huge document by generative AI, by ChatGPT, and sending it to someone, and that person used ChatGPT to summarize it in text, why not we send just the actual gist of the conversation and save the rest? So it's an exciting time. I would love to see how we are going to adopt it and how it's going to add value.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, right, I think there's a lot of ways to apply this AI, like for example, to reduce costs or to make things more efficient, or even as a source of revenue, for example. What do you think is the first steps that companies or even like the small businesses need to consider when they try to implement this kind of AI system in the processes?
So, long story short, AI is a tool. It's a technology piece, it's a tool, and it will feel nice. It will, I guess, you can put it nicely in your transformation journey as a part of it. So you need to have all these building blocks in order to be able to leverage AI very efficiently. And in many cases, the transformation has happened for most of the companies already. Like, you all have access to a PC, you all have access to internet, and you all are in a network, internal network, and these are all the steps that we went through to be able to leverage these new technologies. And if you're not there, and definitely you're going to be disrupted. So what's next here is democratization of data, and then leveraging that to build on top of it. Why we are using these technologies? Like, let's, I guess, step back. We leverage the technology to be able to deliver our services, as you mentioned, faster, cheaper, right? And then we also want to know more about the insight about our customers to save something, either time or money. It's essentially, I would say, the bottom line of human currency is time. And I can argue that whatever we are doing, we cannot buy time. And that's why we leverage all these technologies to be able to do things faster. But that aside, this AI for different companies at different stages of their transformation means differently. If you're in a startup, you're definitely more eager to leverage whatever technology out there to make you more relevant and more competitive. But then the challenges for startups, although they're smaller and they're faster, they don't have the resources in many cases. They don't have the budget, or they don't have the talents to be able to leverage that. When you talk about the corporates, you need to have the buy-ins from the C-levels, because that's the most important thing for a corporate to be able to be successfully using AI. And then also you need to have building the culture and upskilling the talent as well. So imagine a company with a couple of thousand employees, and you're bringing a new shiny tool that nobody has heard about or nobody have used it. There's going to be resistance. There's going to be complexities in order to leverage it, and in order to understand how it's going to affect the business in the right way. And for governments, that's another conversation. They might have the budget, they might have access to the talents, but how to ensure the public that they should trust and they should adopt it, that's another big challenge for many governments, and it's across the world. I can tell you that, like, some cultural aspects in more risk-averse countries would make them a little bit slower, but pretty much across all the countries, everybody's asking, is this AI is coming to replace me? Is this going to leverage my data in an unethical way. So these are all the great conversations that we need to have with the public.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I would like to touch on that a bit more, Steve. Like, ethical and responsible AI is something that you are actually trying to develop as well, right, in terms of the policies. Can you tell us more about that? Like, what can be defined as ethical and responsible AI?
So that is the conversation that literally we are having all over the world, like UNESCO, G7, United Nations. If you have heard about the Senate hearings in the US, they're all talking about the same thing. They want to understand what are the ethical implications, how can we first make sure that AI is being built responsibly and then being leveraged responsibly. And still we don't have 100% of the answers because this technology is changing rapidly, right? We are always behind the technology, always legislations and standards come after. If you think about all the other, I guess, standards, when something goes wrong, then we think about, all right, how to make sure it doesn't happen again. When the first airplane needs to crash, then we think about more of like, guardrails to make sure it doesn't happen again. For AI, this time, we are trying to be more proactive. So the whole world knows that if something goes wrong, it's probably going to have a huge impact. So we are proactive in terms of understanding the considerations and talk about what can we do to make sure even the bad actors are not leveraging it in a way that is not beneficial for the society. And just think about it. It is, in many cases, we have done it before. Like, how many of you have counterfeit notes in your pocket? No one? All right, good to know. All right. So we will not make or use any counterfeit notes. It's just because of the severe penalties. And this has happened before. It can happen again. We can put severe penalties in making AI that is going to be harmful and leveraging and for the bad actors to use it in the wrong way. Because generative AI, as I talked about, is going to be used in many cases by the public. So there's no way to limit the access. What we can do to make sure that it doesn't go wrong, in many cases, we can put sort of ways to identify the generated materials. Recently, like a week ago, I guess, Google just announced a new platform where they watermark the AI-generated images and they can identify it, which is not easily identifiable by human beings. So it doesn't actually affect the quality and the visibility of the image. It's easier to identify, and it would help us to identify deepfakes. Why they did it, why they pushed that much effort to do it, because there's going to be the election in US coming up soon, and you don't want a lot of generated deep fake news flooding the social media about these campaigns. So it is something that we're all talking about, but essentially it's about data, about bias, about how we are generating these data, how we are testing it. And for the current models, it's about also the hallucination. So the last point I want to make here is that we all know about responsive AI, we have all talked about it, but the new models have something interesting, which is the hallucination. It will very, very confidently tell you a lie, and it will back it up by some other lies. And the confidence just makes it very believable. And many people might believe it if they don't do the fact check. I guess like in 3 months ago, there was a lawyer who leveraged ChatGPT to generate something, the legal documents, and they shared it. They shared it with the judiciary system. They found a lot of holes in these materials, and they found that many of them are not fact-checked. And that is very important for everybody to know. Do the fact check before sharing those documents with your boss.
Yeah, I think that's about it, right? We're talking about risk here, security risk particularly. When we talk about AI, talk about data, there's always this security risk that is being imposed. And what do you think is the governance that can be put in place for companies that may be too skeptical to implement AI in their businesses?
I totally understand that we are skeptical because, first of all, it's not cheap, right? We want to put that much money, we want to make sure that it generates value for the business. So that is totally understandable. If you want to leverage AI, I think you need to think about a couple of things. First of all, understand that if you're leveraging it to get business value right away, or it's a long-term mission, is it because you want to be seen as relevant and interesting, or you really want to make sure you save some time and money? And if you are going for long term, you need to understand that these tools, it takes time for them to implement, to be tested, and to be used by the team internally or externally effectively, then to have the return. The fastest, I guess, the turnaround for projects that I've seen in the companies that are very quick, they're very, I guess, in terms of the digital transformation, mature, it's 6 to 8 months. So that's the sort of the time frame that we are talking about, right? So then we are talking about, all right, so that time frame, how to make sure things are staying aligned with the business values. The most important aspect is, first of all, testing with human feedback, which is one of the reasons that ChatGPT became so powerful. It was the human reinforcement learning. So we need to make sure that the people that are going to test this are aligned with our business values. Secondly, we need to be very open about leveraging these platforms in the customer-facing environment. Thirdly, it's about your data governance. It's about the data that you're using. If you're using the PII, personal information, and you're exposing these chatbots to the rest of the world, you're going to expect these PII data to leak out anyway. So if you don't have the right data governance, that is going to be the biggest, I guess, mistake that's going to be detrimental. And I guess finally, I would say it's about giving assurance to your users as well that how you're going to leverage their data as they are going to interact with these chatbots or whatever product that you are sharing. This gives them also confidence that they are working, they're collaborating, and they are being part of this journey with you.
Okay, Sif. I think we're almost time, so I have one last question for you actually. Particularly for localizations, right? Indonesia especially, it's a bit different than the US or the Australia where the market is more developed and ready to kind of adopt AI. What do you think are key challenges for us in our local market to kind of boost adoptions in AI?
So first of all, I can see a lot of excitement in the room, and that hopefully would change the way that AI is going to be used, and it's going to be leveraged by the companies and the people to push the economy further. What I believe is interesting and very important to understand is that, and hear me out, AI is going to be a zero-sum game. And what do I mean by that? How many of you came with a horse to this event? Hopefully you're keeping your horses out, but I think everybody's using automobile these days, and automobiles are not going to be any competitive advantage for anyone because everybody is using it. Everybody knows it's helpful. Everybody knows that's the best way of going to places. AI is going to be the same thing in future. It's not going to be the tool to give you better margins. It's going to be the tool that determines the market. If you are falling behind, if you're not connected to internet, you are not a company these days. In 5 years, if you're not leveraging generative AI or AI, you cannot stay in the global market. And Indonesia is a huge country with the population, with the potential. Leveraging these, you would keep the competitive advantage, and you will make sure that even you have access to the other markets as well. This is the time for nations to change the story. I have been to many countries. In the last 6 months, I've been to more than 12 countries talking about the same subject, the AI, the generative AI. And what I can see, some of these countries are more aggressive, and like as an example, Israel, the conversation there was like, how can we make sure we leverage AI the faster, the quicker, and we fail faster before any other nations, so we know how to do it and we sell it to the rest. And then you would have other places that are more risk averse, and they were like, why not wait and the others fail first and they pay the consequences, and we happily would leverage what is reliable and useful. So I would say something probably in between is very important to keep in mind. I'm personally a technologist. I believe in the positive impact of technology, but you need to understand for your own business where and how you need to start. There is a good balance between short-term and long-term gains. A lot of times you need to sacrifice either, because we don't have the infinite number of resources and we don't have the time. But if you can find the right balance and you can leverage it quickly to get an advantage, and you can then leverage it in the long-term business strategies to make sure that you get more market and you disrupt the industry, that's the best way to be.
Yeah, I think quoting your statements just now, know where to start and know where you need to actually put importance on, I think that's going to be the best way to start implementing AI, right, Steve? I think it has been a very condensed, even though it's a very short discussion, it's been pretty much information, a lot of information that we need to kind of absorb. So I believe the audience here would have a lot of questions and needs to kind of take into account before kind of go full-blown on AI implementations. So I think in Mekari itself, we have tried to kind of roll out a little bit of features on the AI side. So we put together a video to kind of like demonstrates our capabilities on the AI side. It's still early in the game, still in the beginning, but I know we need to start somewhere, right? So I think that's the missions that we're trying to accomplish. So let's take a look at the videos that we have put together for Mekari Irene.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds good.
Hi there, my name is Irene, Mekari's very own AI-powered virtual assistant. I am designed to assist you in every step of the way and simplify your tasks at every turn. For starters, I can help you communicate with customers to make everything move faster and easier. Make the most of your valuable time. I can analyze your HR data and provide you with a clear overview within minutes. I can also do a detailed financial analysis and help you look for key insights to make better business decisions. Unlocking business growth has never been easier with Mekari. Power your growth.
Yeah, so again, it's just a start for us in Mekari as well, and I believe everyone here in the audience will try to implement AI one way or another. I think, again, if you don't start implementing now, you will get left behind. I think, as you mentioned, I think it's just about, it's going to become a commodities in the future, right? So I think how and when to start is the most important thing that we need to look at. So thank you, Steve, for your time. It's been very much informative and a lot of information that's very important that needs to be taken into account by the audience here as well. So I think that's kind of conclude our sessions. Thank you, Steve, again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for having me.